which is awareness and consciousness, or what they say in Arabic is shu'ur. To be aware. According to ulama of Akhlaq, man is the only creation or the creature who knows that he exists. He knows about himself. And the only thing about which there is no doubt. When Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, this is what he meant, that you can be sure of your own existence and there's nothing else you can be sure of. Now, when we take the creation, all creation into consideration, we start with the vegetation and the plant life. And we say, oh, these things are alive. And it has three nafs, which we share with them. The first one is for ghada, that is second one is for numu, and third one is tawleed. The simplest form of life is that of vegetable, which has got nafs. And you will see that any tree or any growth, any plant must sustain itself. The first thing it needs is ghada. Ghada is food. The animals also, and even a human child, the moment the child is born, the first thing is after is some food. And that ghada, when it is assimilated or digested, the result is numu, it grows from a small plant or from a small seedling into a plant. And when it has grown fully, it reproduces its own kind. توليد المثل. So this is called existence, which is vegetation. Anything that exists in the form of plant life or animal or man is bound to have these three powers of nafs manifested by him or by her. The first thing is ghada. The second thing is that it is got numuv. Numuv is growth. The third one is tawleed bil misl, that means it reproduces its own kind. So what is the difference? Say this is shared by all of us. What is the difference between an animal and plant then? The plant has ghada, it takes ghada from the ground, then it grows, and then it reproduces. What about the animal? The animal is one step forward, but what is that step forward? The step forward, the one more additional power of nafs shown by the animal is that it moves with intention, which is called as harakatu bil irada. That means it moves. It moves by intention. That means whenever it wants to move, it moves. The plant will not move with irada. The plant will move when forced to move. Suppose you keep a plant and you don't give it sunlight, and if you make a hole in the box, the plant will turn towards the hole. That is, you make it turn. But otherwise the plant is just fixed there. But the animal has got that sort of extra power, and known as harakatu bil irada. Haraka is movement. Bil irada means with the intention. The moment it moves with the intention. It decides to go, it goes. It decides to stay, it stays. We share this also, don't we? As men, we want ghada, we want numu, we do tawlid bil mithl, we also do harakatu bil irada. We go according to our intentions, wherever we want to go, and we don't go where we don't want to go. So what is the difference now? This was in the world of vegetable, this is the world of animal. The nafs is working in all of us. And when you teach akhlaq, you teach akhlaq at all levels. You teach akhlaq on ghada, what to eat, what not to eat, don't you? How to eat. I mean, as simple as how to eat in Islam, that when you eat, you don't look at what the other fellow is eating. You don't count how much is he eating, and things like that. In growth, akhlaq is there for children, for adults, for adolescents. In tawlid al-mithl, we yesterday did babun nikah, that is concerning tawlid al-mithl. And harakatu bil irada, where to go, where not to go, all those movements of man are controlled by akhlaq. But does man ceases here? Or is there one step forward? So the Prophet ﷺ said that man is ashraful makhluqat, that means the best of the makhluqat in one sense, that he has got 5 nafs, 5 powers of nafs. Animals have 3, the plants have 3, animals have 4, man has this 4 plus 1 more, and that is known as an-nutq. If you look at the dictionary, you will see nutq to be able to speak, but that is not the meaning. The meaning of nutq is to think and arrive to the unknown from known. From the known to go to the unknown. How does a man think? How does a man think? Man thinks in 2 ways. Either he thinks analytically or he thinks synthetically. To be able to think from the known to the unknown, he knows something and he develops it further and further, comes to the unknown. That is nutq, which is not in the animal, which is not in the vegetable. And this is his 5th power of nafs, which is singular to man. That is why when you teach akhlaq, these are at lower level. The highest level has got to be here, which is the power of nutq, where you first teach a man to behave as a man with this nafs, then all these will follow automatically. You take a whole, WHOLE, and you divide it into parts and find out the result, just like they did. Take a matter, and from matter they split and they found out molecules, and from molecules atoms, and from atoms the components of atom. You take a whole, and from the whole you go to the parts and you come to a result. This is analysis. You take a part, and from part come to the whole, that is synthesis. Both ways, people think both ways. There are people who think analytically. They take the whole and start cutting just like a young boy. You give a toy to a young man. What will he do after having played with it and all that? One day he will try to see what makes it tick. So you find that suddenly that boy or girl is now breaking it. He breaks the wheel first. If there's a train, after breaking the wheel, he tries to break the lid. He tries to find out what makes it move. So from that hole, he is moving, he's taking the parts off to find out what it is. Man is like that. He takes a hole, and from that he goes on, which is called as tahleel, analysis, and comes to the point and says, this is it. But there are other people who go the other way around. They take a part, and from part they go on building and building till they come to the whole. That's on a synthetic way of thinking. Both ways are alright as long as they serve the purpose. So when man has got that capability, that is no. So you can see now from this that if a man, when the Prophet ﷺ says that if a man is good and his akhlaq is good, he is better than malaika. And if his akhlaq is worse, he is worse than the animals. This is what he meant. That if this has not been trained, no, then you live like an animal or even worse. You find a man is only, if you ask him his criterion, he will say, my criterion is live happily, earn enough money, have good house, family, wife, children, and over. At night I sleep, and daytime I work like a donkey. Anything, any refinement, any other things that you would like to do? No, I'm not. Why should I be bothered? That man is living like an animal. But then there are people who don't live for themselves, they live for others, and they really give the benefit of their knowledge and the benefit of their work. They are those who are known as Natiq, now the Prophet or Aimma or even these scientists who travel so far and wide and go into all the details for the sake of others, so that people may benefit from them. They live. Others live like animals, and some live like plants, which is just eating, growing, marrying, and that's all. So akhlaq covers all this. Don't content yourself with teaching only this much to yourself. Let's take the example of irada. I make an intention to go. Where am I going? I'm going to a place where everything is going to be haram. You are going with your irada. I know this is going to be a reception of a marriage where there's going to be nothing but haram. Musical party or na mahram and mahram going together, or maybe a dance, or even liquor will be served and all that. She has naturally marriage. The card says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, come to my musical party. Everything is done. Now I have to decide to go. Allah doesn't push me. No one is pushing me. I'm going bil irada. It is harakatu bil irada. At that particular moment, what am I doing is the question. Is akhlaq there? If akhlaq is there, according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's order, then I will not go, because everything that is done there is immoral. But if akhlaq is not there, I'm going there. And the funniest part is this, that I go there with my beard. I go with the mark of sajda on my forehead. I go there with my hijab. We are going as religious people to the most irreligious gathering and ask what we are doing. Harakatu bil irada. Eating. We say, oh, this is najis. But children, well, I'm going to feed them with anything, even sandwich with ham, because they are children. This is what we have been doing, and some of the families are still doing. So when the criterion is ghidha only, eating and being married and getting married and having wife and children and all that, or moving about wherever I want to go, whether it is halal or haram, then we are living in the framework of akhlaq within the animals, as animals. When nutq comes in, then you really become a man, and there akhlaq governs your nutq. That is the nafs. Now, the question will arise immediately, that what about those men who are mad, Chakram? There are people who are mad. There are people who suffer from double-mindedness. There are people who are schizophrenic, or what you call split personalities, and many diseases of the mind. Remember that that is not the disease of the nafs. That is the misuse of the power of the nafs, which reflects in your body and in your brain, but it has got nothing to do. Nafs is always sane. Nafs doesn't get mad. It's just like somebody tampering or meddling with